And welcome back, everyone. I am so sorry, but Facebook just ended the broadcast without any of us knowing. And I think I was probably talking to CL for the better part of 5 minutes, not even knowing that the broadcast was not available. So thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll get some feed here that you guys are with us and we're broadcasting again. Um, so let's see if we're getting any notification about that. I wonder if the feed is live at all because we're not getting any comments or anything. I think it's a problem with Facebook, but you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's just continue our interview as it was and get to some of the cases, some of the people that you've worked with so far.
Okay, so one of the first things that I did right after I had gotten the Genius, as a practitioner, you're always trying to check things out and see what kind of accuracy you can get and whatnot. And a friend of mine had a bad stomach bowel issue, and I had a suspicion what I thought it might be, but I really wanted to check it out with the Genius and see what came up. And sure enough, what came up was salmonella poisoning. And because he was a little bit skeptical, I didn't really want to go into a whole lot of, diving deep into the panel. So we just looked at the infections and came up with a remedy for him to use to kind of clear the food poisoning. Um, but the funny thing was that I looked at his aura picture, and I love the aura pictures, by the way. That's one of my favorite components, and I think it's also one of my clients' favorite components too, because it really gives them such a visual, of what's going on for them right in the
Absolutely.
moment. It's pretty stunning, actually. And when I looked at his aura, the colors around all of it were like this murky green, and it was just like the sick green, and it was just so perfect because that's exactly what he was feeling like. And then at the root chakra, and I hope this isn't going to gross anybody out, but there was like this awful brown color, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, and I showed it to him, and he was like, yeah, well, that's pretty true,
Oh my gosh. I
and
mean,
so
how literal does it get? That's
yeah,
incredible.
it was
Yeah.
couldn't, we just hit the
You
nail
can't
right on the
tell
head
the
with that
story
one.
any other way.
And so I did the balancing for about, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes. And he felt better immediately. Like he noticed, he said, I feel, a sense of ease. I'm not feeling so, like in pain. He had a lot of spasm. And I looked at his picture again, his aura, and it definitely was better, but it still was missing something. And I thought, I got to go back in here and check this again. And I went back in, and minerals came in, red, and that was the second thing past the infection. And I just hadn't taken the time to look at it, but I looked at it, and guess what? It was all the electrolytes right there,
Wow.
just perfectly. It wasn't like any kind of weird, strontium or anything. It was just all the electrolyte, which he was definitely needing. So I gave him some trace minerals, and then did the balancing, harmonizing for a few more minutes, and checked again. And his aura was much brighter and much clearer, and he felt better. And the whole situation resolved in what I would consider a fairly quick amount of time, and he felt better. So that was really a good eye opener for me how accurate this tool was.
That's really amazing. And I love the
Yeah.
idea of that. But you had to be really observant to notice about the electrolytes. And that's good. And it makes so much sense. And it probably made sense to him too when you showed it to him.
Well, sure. I mean, it was just I didn't, I could have done that the first time around, but like I said, I was trying to be really brief with the amount of time that we took with him because he's a little impatient. So, but it was definitely worthwhile going back in and looking a little deeper. Um, so another thing that I have had, just want to say that when I was getting some of my initial training with biofeedback years ago, the teacher at that point in time said to us in the class, he said, the emotions are important, but he said, I want you to first focus on the body and the terrain and the gut and doing all this and getting this fixed. And, then after a person's health is stabilized, then you can start working with the, emotional side of things and with the Bach flowers and whatnot. And I don't know, that just never really sat right with me because I didn't think it was true. But at the same time, working with my EAV technology, because it was so cumbersome and laborious, it would just take a lot of extra time to go into the emotions and the flower remedies. But with the Genius, it's because it's also simultaneous. Um, we can get that piece of information right up front immediately. And what I've learned about this process is that oftentimes the emotional body is the most important thing to
Yes,
balance. And
absolutely.
if you cannot get that lined up, if you cannot get that in order, everything else kind of falls on that. So I really want to say to people that this has been such a gift for me to be able to use this with people so effectively and to really show things. And I'm talking here about things that are not on the surface, but things that are more operating in the background. This is where we see the operating systems at play, some of these deeper programs. So we can talk about, viruses and malware and, just like a computer. It's like these things are running the background programs. And until we clear some of these, we're not going to see resolution of some of
That's
these
a
more
great
chronic
analogy.
cases.
That's an awesome analogy, which I absolutely love. Until you clear the viral programs that are running in the background, you
Mm-hmm.
can't really clear the major issue. Well, that's
Right.
CL. That's brilliant.
Well,
That's
it's the
awesome.
truth. I mean, so you got to do that kind of work. And so I had an experience with one gal, and she's probably one of my most she just loves the work that we're doing with the Genius. And she told me, she said, I've done a lot of therapies all my life, and she said, I have never seen anything go as deep and be as accurate and as appropriate for me as this technology is. And so she's just totally sold on it. And so we were doing some work with weight loss, and I was looking at some of the emotional components around the weight loss, and what came up for her was emotional eating and food addiction. And the interesting thing about that was that she sat there for a moment and she looked at it, at the screen, and she really took it in. Over the next day or so, she contacted me and she said, "You know what?" She said, "I if you had said that to me, I would not have been able to hear it.
Yes.
But because it came up on the screen and I could see it, and it was like, this is what my voice is telling me. This is, my biofeedback." And it's not something that somebody else is telling me like it's a judgment or something. And she said it was just information, but it was accurate.
Yes.
And
That's
I think that
wonderful.
for the first time, she really owned it, and she got to look at it, and she, got to really think about it. And as a result of that, uh, it did make a shift in how she chooses and when she chooses to eat.
Wonderful.
And so, and she's told me that. And so it made a, a real profound difference for her. And
Awareness is the first step to action.
that's exactly right. But to have the awareness in a way that a person can receive it is so key. And it's not
Yes.
something that we see a lot of times with, either psychotherapy or any many different ways of, trying to tell somebody something. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. And especially
So,
when you're the counselor or healer and you're doing the telling, people can feel very judged, just like you
mm-hmm,
said. And when they see it in black and white on the Genius, so to speak, they say, oh, but it is true.
mm-hmm. Because it's coming from It's their biofeedback. It's their body. It's their voice. It's their information. So it's just a whole different way of looking at it. And because of the way that the information is organized in the system, it makes it really easy to find those things, and to access that information, to access those questions. So, I love the way that we can just kind of dance across the spectrum. We can look at the physical, and we can look at amino acids and minerals and all those things, but then we can also go into some of these more esoteric and metaphysical things that I think people are really, that's what holistic medicine is. And you don't always see that. You don't see that very often in practical usage. We give a lot of lip service to it. But then to be able to bring that in and to have those frequencies that we can share with people, and a shift happens, and that's the cool part. That's what makes my day. It puts a smile on my face to say somebody say
ways that you've been able to see the shift happening. What's the evidence of that?
Yeah, well, like I say, with this one gal, that her weight is, she's able to, shift the patterns with the eating. I had another woman that came in, and I was doing acupuncture with her, primarily, before the Genius, and then she has this odd back spasm thing that I just really couldn't. It's like I would touch her middle back or thoracic vertebra, and she would just jump, and it was a chronic thing. And so I ran the meridian pathways with it because they came up in a red. It's like, okay, Look at me. I know. I don't just do it because I'm an acupuncturist, but because it seemed appropriate at the time. And there was a list of her, thoracic vertebra that needed attention. And so I did something I had never done before, which was I only did the acupuncture. I used acupuncture needles with her body, and I put the acupuncture needles at the places where the vertebra were, showing me that they needed support. And what it was amazing was she said, "Oh, those are exactly the places where my spine was broken when I had this head-on car collision."
Oh my God.
The funny thing was she'd never told me that. She'd never told me that she had a head-on collision, and I did not know that she had broken her back in so many places. And so it was such a confirmation. And so we did the treatment, and it made a huge difference. She was having so much more ease in her spine than she had before then. So I really, I feel like that was like a Genius guided acupuncture treatment, So that was something else that was like a new revelation for me.
Well, as an acupuncturist, I'm curious, when you see the different meridians come up, do they also match your assessment through pulse and tongue diagnosis? Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, often, most of the time I would say yes, that is correct. And also I have been using the emotional clearing with the acupuncture meridians and the oils that you created. And I just think that is so useful. That is so useful for people. And I always look at generally speaking, I look at the emotions and the Bach flower remedies, but then I will also go in and look at the emotional
within the meridians.
Yeah, within the meridians themselves when that comes up, and it's just right on. And it's so helpful for people, because they know, okay, this is where I'm holding this issue, and it's in this meridian pathway, and that's why I've got pain in my gallbladder, pain in my right side, and my leg, and my buttock, So it's
really interesting
useful.
Because just the moment that they have the awareness, they can choose to shift if they really want to, and that may be enough. I mean, we can take credit for thinking the Genius is wonderful, but it may be their raised level of awareness that helps them to catalyze the change from within themselves.
I think that's absolutely right. I think it's the information. I call this information medicine, because once you bring that awareness into somebody's field, you're creating a whole different set of vibrations, frequencies, whatever you want to call that, and it changes things. So is it the genius that's doing it, or is it the fact that the genius is bringing it to their awareness, and now they're the ones making the shift? It's all one thing, really.
You
It
know what they
doesn't
say
really
in
matter.
popular culture now, CL? You know, they say, oh boy, I can't unsee that. Have you ever heard
Yes.
that?
have had a few of those experiences.
So it's sort of like that with the genius.
Right.
You can't unsee that helpful information. It'll
Yeah.
always be with you in
Yeah,
some
that's
way.
right. That's right. So what I do a lot of times is I'll do an acupuncture session, and then I'll, at the end, while they're resting on the massage table, I put the headphones on and let them listen to the frequencies while they're lying there, and that really, amplifies their treatment.
Wonderful. That's a
So that's
great and brilliant idea.
yeah.
And since you started doing that, have they commented that this is a positive experience for
Oh
them?
yeah. Oh yeah. People love it. They get very relaxed, and they always want to hear what their frequencies sound like for that day, and they love it. And I also incorporate the essential oils into the treatment. And one of the things that I've done, and again, this is another thing that I love, is the ability to create the custom libraries,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, that's like me playing. you
Yeah.
know I do that, a lot of times in my spare time. I'm like creating a library to, of
What's
something.
one that's been helpful for you, or
Well,
just you were just playing around with and you thought, oh,
right.
this is really cool?
Yeah, I love using gemstones and stone medicine. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole panel of stone medicine. So it'll come up with their gemstones, and I have my little guide. I read to them what the gemstones represent. So when, again, I'm doing acupuncture and they're laying on the table with the needles, and I'll get the essential oils, and I'll do a stone layout on their body. Or, if they don't come in for acupuncture, then I just tell them what the stones are. And if they have them, or if they bring them in to me, I can use the remedy plate and just put the stones on the remedy plate and kind of charge them up, and
I love
they like
it.
that. So that's a nice application.
And do
Um,
they take the stones or they put them on their body during the session?
mhm. Yeah,
Cool. Oh,
yeah,
great.
yeah. So I'm laying them out on, while they're listening to the frequencies in the headphones. So yeah, so that's those are some of the things. I made a couple of notes here. Another one is my dog. I got your dog, your pet panel,
Uh-huh.
and she's had some chronic itch and anxiety. She's a nervous little thing, and
What breed is she?
she's a Papillon.
Oh, papillons.
Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
very smart. So some of my clients are watching this. They know Zoom's. Her name is Zoom Zoom, and they're like, Zoom Zoom, go Zoom Zoom. Um, and so, what came up were the food sensitivities, which I knew that in a kind of general way, but I got to kind of hone in and be more specific with some of the things that she was really having problems with, and also helping her with the anxiety piece. And I do notice that when I do play the frequencies for her, it does calm her down, and she seems, like she has improvement, which is great, because I love being able to help these little critters,
I
because
love it.
they can't really tell us what's wrong with them. So it always brings up things that, I had never thought of. That's the other thing that I like, because it helps me I feel like I can be a better practitioner, because I can do things that don't necessarily, think about in practice, and I don't necessarily, I mean, I don't treat animals per se, but I just feel like I really wanted to help my dog in this
Oh,
way. So,
yeah. Yeah. The fact that it's a side benefit that you
hmm
can use is incredible.
hmm absolutely. Um, Also dealing, one of the things that I've been exploring and really enjoying is the idea of using this remotely with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had some people calling me from California. I have one client in Hawaii. He had injured his foot, and he had a lot of pain. And I did the frequencies for him, and he let me know the next day that his foot was feeling much better. And of course, there was
Wonderful.
more things that needed to happen as a result of the session, but it really did point to me that this is a non-local quantum entanglement healing therapy. And it's
That's
like,
exactly
wow,
right.
wrapping your brain around that, but it's like we're all connected. We are all one, and we are all, the frequencies go wherever they need to go. And
That's right.
I think once we can really get that, kind of really get that, then this is unlimited. This healing technique is an unlimited technique, and it's just fabulous. I love it. I see a lot of benefit with people with the stress and anxiety, sleeping, calmer moods.
Tell us a little bit about a calmer mood. Did they come out of the session with a calmer mood?
Oh, yeah, I would say almost invariably every time they feel better. They always comment how much better they feel after listening to the frequencies. Um, I I think that the Bach flowers are really important, and uh, I also, you asked me earlier what other kind of programs I'd loaded in, and I use some different flower remedies as well besides the Bach, and so I loaded the other couple of flower lines that I have, and so I will kind of bounce back and forth. And sometimes people need a lot of support with the flowers, so I'll just kind of focus on emotions and flower remedies. Maybe throw in like adrenal, the adrenal panels to check the adrenals, um, and sleep.
Very
And
cool.
so I, the, yeah, there was. I think another situation of somebody that I've really enjoyed helping him to kind of dig a little more deeply into some of his emotional issues is a man that I've been working with now for a period of time who has ALS.
Hmm.
And what came up for him which just is so interesting to me, because there were some things that that were not accessible to his memory,
Hmm.
and having to do with some PTSD and those types of issues. And one of the things that came up in some of the causative factors was just feeling paralyzed by fear.
Hmm.
And it was just profound for him, to feel that, because it was like you could see that there was something, um, you know, some memory being stirred. And I think it was really useful for him. And I know that sounds really simple, but sometimes when I'm working with somebody, there's always like an aha moment,
Hmm.
either for me or for them or both of us, where it'll be like, that's the key right there. This is the key that we need to turn to unlock this situation right here. And that's really, it's powerful,
It is, yeah. It's the ability to know and to have knowledge and to have that type of information mirrored is so powerful. And I'm in awe of it every day.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I know you've been doing this for a long time. So I really look forward to going deeper with it. I'll just
Yeah.
see where it all goes. I'm sure there's a lot more to learn.
Well, for me, it really made it really fun to be a naturopath. It
Hmm.
made it more of a meditation and being an observer than, being any type of a health practitioner. You're always want to be able to figure out
Hmm.
what the root cause is. And it's really there's a lot of energy to be able to do that and produce that. And this sort of takes the edge off of that. You have a helper or an assistant to put it together with, what you already know. And it's
Right.
incredibly helpful.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, CL, we're going to kind of wrap things up here. Do you have any final words that you'd like to share with people who are watching today?
Well, I would like to say that this is a tool that, if any of you are interested in pursuing, it's well worth your time. Uh, It is easy to learn, I think, and I think that the things that it's going to reveal for you, for your family members, for people around you, for yourself, um, will benefit you greatly. And I think that this is a blessing. I feel that the frequencies, we know that we are vibration. We know that we are greater than just the 3D matter that we carry around with us all day long. There's something more. There's a unifying force that is the truth of us. And I think that anytime we can access that truth, that greater truth, and come into an alignment and a coherence with it, it brings us into a state of harmony, a state of peace, a state of well-being. And that's really what we're looking for here. We're looking for how do we, they say that none of us gets out of here alive, but I think that is any way that we can find to, make the process flow with more ease and grace. That is definitely a blessing. And I'm just grateful to know you, and thank you, Dr. Ariel, for
Likewise.
all you have done and provided for all of us. It's a beautiful gift that you've shared with us, and thank you.
Thank you, CL. Thank you so much. And of course, let's not forget the developer as well, but I'm grateful for my contribution, and Ryan Williams, the developer of the Genius, as well.
Yep.
And big hugs and appreciation of you, CL, and for sharing all that you've learned and all that you're doing. And yeah, it is about being in awe, because it's undeniable that there's a force greater than ourselves at play. When we're using biofeedback, we're tapping into that to a great degree.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you again. Big hugs and appreciation for UCL and for everyone who's been on our broadcast today. CL, in fact, let me let you go, and I'll just do a wind up here. So we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thanks so much. All right, you guys. I'm really sorry that we got basically cut off from the feed. And I don't know why it happened. I'm going to have to find out. But tomorrow we will be back for more fun. And tomorrow is a full day of speakers. So please mark your calendars for tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific, because we will be back with more fun. We will be talking with the big guy himself, Ryan Williams. If you've never heard him talk before, he has a lot to say about the development of the Genius. It's really fun to really just get to know who is the person behind all of this. So Ryan will be talking tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and then we'll be hearing from Kelly Huggett. We're actually going to be doing 2 hours with Kelly, because we're going to be doing live cases using the oils on point. So definitely be there for that. Then we're going to be hearing from Her Grace, Karen McDonald, the wonderful and talented healer. So grateful that she's going to be joining us and sharing her wisdom of colonics, yoni steams, biomats, all other things that she uses in conjunction with the Genius that comprise a really dynamic, cutting-edge healing practice. So I'm just incredibly grateful she'll be joining us. And we'll be joined also with Deanna Stanley, a practitioner in the Midwest, a wonderful, gifted practitioner, talking about tips for success, how to be successful in your practice, and how she is building a very successful biofeedback practice by showing people their aura and doing other amazing things to market herself. So I'm sending you big hugs and appreciation, and thank you to all the speakers from today. Thank you to Silky, thank you to Sophie, thank you to Heather, thank you to CL. It was a great summit. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Take care and be well. Bye-bye for now.